Welcome to the 2016 Run to Home Base presented by New Balance. I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces as well. We thank you all for being a part of this today. In fact, General Hammond a little while ago was telling me this will be an all-time record for retention. Nearly 44% of the people here today have run this event in the past. So thank you for coming back. It is your continued support, your sustained support, that makes this event and this program so successful. The 2016 Run to Home Base is presented by New Balance, and as you should know by now, the event raises money for Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation, and Massachusetts General Hospital program that heals the invisible wounds of war for post-9/11 veterans, service members, and their families through world-class clinical care, wellness, education, and research. We begin the day, absolutely. We don't want you to sit around and cramp up here before you run, so we begin the day by asking you to rise and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the national anthem. On the field today is the Color Guard with representatives from the Massachusetts National Guard. Representing the United States Marine Corps are the 25th Marines. Representing the United States Navy are sailors from the USS Constitution, Massachusetts Air National Guard, and United States Coast Guard Base Boston. The national anthem will be sung by Casey's Cross, a group of veterans who suffer from post-traumatic stress who came together to create powerful music and raise awareness for those suffering from similar issues.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Over the next few minutes, you'll hear stories about the success and the amazing work being done at the Home Base program. And all of that takes money, which is why we're here today. Since its inception, the Run to Home Base has raised some $18 million for the Home Base program. And today alone, nearly 2,000 of us are running and walking, including over 300 active duty service members. We also have the support of many people from the government, military, and business community, including Tom Werner, chairman of the Boston Red Sox, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, Representative Joe Kennedy, Mass General Hospital Dr. Peter Slavin, New Balance Vice President of Public Affairs Matt LeBretton, and clinical and administrative staff including Home Base Executive Director Brigadier General Jack Hammond. But the most important people here today are former patients. Success stories from Home Base here with us today. Men and women who bravely served our country and came home, only to continue their fight against the invisible wounds of war. To those men and women, we begin by saying thank you for your service and for your continued courage. A lot of us first came to this race because we thought it'd be pretty cool to do what David Ortiz gets to do, it seems like, a couple times every night, which is touch home plate. A lot of us came here to run to home base, but we continue to do it because we have learned so much about the services being offered by the home base program. But by participating in this event, we're raising critical funds for the program. You are all having a direct impact on the lives of our veterans and their families, and we thank you. We'd like to introduce the man who started it all to get things rolling. After the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004 and 2007, how about a hand for that? The Boston Red Sox were, of course, invited to visit the White House. And on that trip in 2007, team ownership brought the players to Walter Reed Medical Center. And the remarkable impact of these invisible wounds had on our soldiers was clear. The team came home, and Tom Werner decided to do something about it. He partnered with Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the best hospitals in the world, to create this model program. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the Boston Red Sox, the founder of this event, and the head of the Red Sox Foundation, Tom Werner.
On behalf of the Red Sox, and I wanted to say the first place Red Sox, but we'll be in first place tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome you all back to Fenway Park. I see a lot of Red Sox people here. Ed Weiss, Linda Henry, Sam Kennedy, all of us welcome you to Fenway and thank you for your participation in the 2016 Run to Home Base presented by New Balance. Thanks also to all of you who are running today and those of you who are supporting our runners with your time and financial resources. And I'm especially honored to welcome our many service members, as Tom said, over 300 veterans and their families here today. Thank you for coming. We have been reminded repeatedly in recent months of the dangerous times we live in and the challenges we face in a world that poses real threats to our freedom and way of life. And some of you, brave men and women, have made great sacrifices voluntarily serving on the front lines to protect us from these dangers. And that is why we at Home Base feel such an obligation to do our part in helping those who come home with what we call the invisible wounds of war: traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, substance abuse disorder, and military sexual trauma. And those wounds can no longer be invisible. According to new data from the Veterans Affairs Department, over 7,000 veterans commit suicide last year. And that is almost 20 suicides a day. So this should be a wake-up call to all of us. This is a national emergency. I want to briefly talk to you today about Army Ranger Will Snow and his wife Amber, who is running our race for the third time today. They are our own. Will is from Foxborough, Amber is from Attleboro. Will is one of those people, Amber says, who was put on this planet to watch out for other people. And that inclination to take care of others led Will to turn to the Army and become a medic for the Rangers, one of our most elite fighting forces. Will was on his third deployment in Iraq. Amber was home, just 6 weeks away from giving birth to her first child, and Will was headed on a dangerous mission when the Stryker armored vehicle he was riding plunged 21 feet into a canal and overturned. Will sustained head, neck, and back injuries in the accident, but as he put it, he tried to walk it off. He was the only medic assigned to the platoon and felt an obligation to his comrades. But when he returned home less than a month later from the birth of his daughter, Tegan, it became quickly apparent to Will, and especially Amber, that he had suffered injuries far greater than the bout of headaches he thought he was dealing with. Amber said, "I sent one guy to war and I got another one back. which I'm very thankful for because he did come back, so who am I to complain? But it's not who I sent. Will Snow's battles did not end in Iraq. He faced a formidable foe back home, dealing with anxiety, mood swings, sleeplessness, an array of symptoms we have come to recognize as the consequence of TBI and PTSD. But Amber Snow became inspired to run for home base, just like you all today, after reading about the run. And when Will came home after his discharge, the family returned to Massachusetts, and Amber ran her first race in 2014. And when she heard some of the stories from those servicemen and women who had been helped by home base, she urged Will to call us, and he did. And it made a world of difference. Will said, "I didn't know where else to go, but once I got to home base, the place just reeks of competence. You sit down with people, they know what they're doing, they give you hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel." Will is here today to watch Amber run again with his daughters Tegan and Adair, and the world of isolation in which he once felt trapped has faded away. And that desire to help remains. Will hopes that he can one day act as a sounding board for other veterans confronted with the same challenges, telling them that if they commit to the hard work that home-based program offers, they too can get better. Give us time, Amber says. Wait for us. We're going to catch up. We're going to get there. So I'd like to Will and Amber and their doctor, Dr. Peterson, to please stand up so we can personally thank you and tell you how deeply we care about you, and that's why we're here. Now, I take great pride in asking you to join me in offering a special welcome and thank you on behalf of all the Red Sox to Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker and Mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh. Governor Baker and Mayor Walsh have been exceptional leaders, demonstrating steadfast and longtime support for our veterans and their families. And from the time I have known both of them, they have expressed to me and to Sam Kennedy they regard the home-based program as one of the best ways the Red Sox can serve our community. Here to kick things off is Governor Baker.
Well, I got about a 2-hour speech, so I hope I'll just get comfortable. First of all, Will and Amber, thank you so much for being with us, and God bless you. And Will and Amber, thank you for your service to this country. I'm actually going to be mercifully brief. I want to thank all of you for being here today to run for and support what I consider to be one of the best organizations, if not the best organization, that anybody can spend time working on behalf of to support the men and women returning from combat. You know, I really don't know, because I've never had this conversation with General Hammond and with the folks at Mass General about what the impetus or the inspiration was to create a program like Home Base. But as somebody who spent most of my professional career in healthcare, I can tell you point blank that this is, in many respects, a moment of genius, a seminal event in the way people think about helping people who have served this country in combat find their way back home. And the fact that this program has been so successful and so supported by so many people like you is a tribute and a testament to what it's all about. But the big message I want you to take away today, I spent a lot of time over the course of my professional and personal career working with many, literally like dozens, probably hundreds, of great and very special organizations. But this organization is the right organization with the right program at the right time for men and women who have gone above and beyond what we would normally expect of people who try to serve and support their country. And your participation, not just in this run, but in supporting this organization, is a glorious, a beautiful, and a wonderful thing. I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, Governor. And I want to repeat what the governor said to everyone here today. Thank you so much for coming out today. This is an incredible, incredible organization. This is my third year in a row. It's a run that I wouldn't miss, although I shouldn't be saying that because I should actually be running. The governor and myself should have numbers on us. But we have very busy schedules. We have to go somewhere else after this. But I truly want to thank all of you. I want to give a special shout out to Tom Werner and the Boston Red Sox Foundation who do this year after year not because they have to, because they love to and because they want to give back. So I want to thank Tom and the Red Sox Foundation. I also want to thank Dr. Peter Slavin from Mass General Hospital, by the way, who was ranked #1 hospital in the world, in America, but we say the world, for what they do as well, because they're absolutely an incredible partner here in the city of Boston. So I want to thank them as well. I want to thank General Jack Hammond, who's going to speak in a few minutes, for his great work. I see the General in a lot of different places, and he's always fighting on behalf of the men and women of the service. And you can't find a much more dedicated person to making sure that our veterans have what they need. Thank you to all of you that are here today, runners from all over our nation who've come to support this program. I want to thank particularly the servicemen and women that are here as well, both active and retired. I want to thank you for your service to our country. These are tough times that we're going through right now. I was talking to the governor on the way in, and we really haven't experienced what we're experiencing, it seems like, every day, whether it's here in America or across the world. But certainly, because of all of you, because of your sacrifice, and the men and women who came before you, we live in the best country in the world, and it's because of the servicemen and women that we have. And I want to thank you for your service, and thank you for your sacrifice, and thank your families as well for their sacrifice. And at the very least, it's our obligation to give back to you. I'm honored to be mayor of the city of Boston, but I'm more proud of the fact of our Veterans Affairs Office in the city of Boston. Last year, we took on a challenge to end veterans' chronic homelessness in the city of Boston. This was a challenge by the White House. And about 100 cities around America took that challenge. And from when we took that challenge early last year through today, we have housed 684 chronically homeless veterans in the city of Boston right now. Those veterans aren't all from Boston. But the one thing is those veterans all fought for our country. So I'm honored to say that we're going to continue to work in our Veterans Affairs Office with our Commissioner, Giselle Sterling. And really, I'm going to end with just saying to all of you, what a beautiful day here at Fenway Park. To have the day here, to have all of you come out here, to have all of you run for an incredible cause. And to all the veterans that are out there and that are going to Mass General and receiving the services, or if you're sitting out here and you're not sure if you want to, do it. Do it for your family, and do it for you, because you did it for us. You went over and fought for us. So get the critical services you need, because it's something that's why this program was created. That's why Tom Werner, when he was in Walter Reed and came back and said, we need to do more. That's why we're here today. God bless you, and God bless the United States.
Thank you, Governor Baker, Mayor Walsh. And in the spirit of selflessness today, Mayor Walsh will be happy to give you my number. I'll stay. See you all at the finish line. It is a great day for a run, and I'm glad Mayor Walsh brought up the families of the servicemen and women, because as we all know, when someone serves our country, the whole family serves our country. And so many of the programs and so many of the services making an impact at the home base program are for the entire family. And there are many, many families here today of servicemen and women, some who have been successfully treated, some who have been lost along the way. So I'd like to all give a round of applause for the families of the servicemen and women who are here today helping us out in this. You heard Governor Baker say a moment of genius, and I agree. That's what this was when Tom Werner realized there has to be a way to make this direct impact to our heroes coming home. And when he came back with that idea, fortunately, he was coming back to Boston, right? The home of the greatest medical community in the world. Massachusetts General Hospital has stepped up to provide the medical leadership needed to make that idea become a reality that is helping so many people. So please welcome to the stage now the president of Mass General Hospital, Dr. Peter Slavin.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you all so much for being here this morning as we support our veterans. It's truly an honor for me to be here representing the men and women of Mass General Hospital. It's been a thrill for me every time I come to this ballpark. First time was when I was a young boy growing up here in Boston. I came with my grandfather, sat over in section 14, and on that day and every day since have always been humbled to be in the presence of baseball heroes here at Fenway Park. But I have to say, every time I come here for one of these home base runs, I'm even more humbled and honored to be surrounded by so many heroes who are serving, who have served our country through their military service. And so thank you all for sacrificing so much for the rest of us to enjoy our freedom here in the United States. We are deeply grateful. I want to thank the governor, the mayor, and Congressman Kennedy for joining us here this morning. I also want to thank the mayor and the city of Boston for allowing us to tie up some of the streets of the city every year to make home base possible. And I also want to thank Tom Werner and the Red Sox for opening up this hallowed baseball park to make this run possible. As you've heard, it was the Red Sox and Tom Werner's idea in particular when they returned from Walter Reed Army Medical Center to come back to Boston and do something to help veterans. And we were honored to partner with them to create this program, and the support that we've gotten from this program has truly been inspirational. At Mass General Hospital, we do 4 things simultaneously every day. We take care of patients, we do research, we educate the next generation of health professionals, and we serve the community. And each of those things comes to life through the home base program. We've had the honor of serving more than 9,000 veterans and their families and trying to provide them with the services they need to re-engage in their lives healthily here in the United States. We've trained more than 25,000 health professionals, helping them become more expert in identifying and treating these invisible wounds of war. And we are also advancing research through our research effort of home base. That's led by Dr. Jerry Rosenbaum, our chief of psychiatry, who heads up the scientific council of the home base program. And we partner with a number of communities, particularly the city of Boston, in providing a number of community-based services for our veterans as well. So I want to thank you for year after year for your generous support of this program, which helps make all of this possible. And I want to thank you all for joining us here today. It's been promised by Tom and the Red Sox that they'll be turning on the air conditioning a little bit later this morning. So as you heard, the presenting sponsor of home base from the very beginning has been New Balance, a great company based here in Boston. And it's a great honor for me to welcome Matt LeBretton, the Vice President of Public Affairs at New Balance, to the podium. Thank you all so much.
New Balance, we're a 110-year-old company headquartered here in Boston. We've been working with the military for the last 25 years, and we're the only company that still makes athletic shoes in this country. So we take a lot of pride in the support that we give to our community. When the Red Sox came to us and said, hey, we'd like you to participate in this program, we looked at it and thought, These are two iconic Boston brands, New Balance and the Red Sox, and we can come together to do some good for people that deserve it. And what we know at New Balance, and everyone here knows, is that the true icons are those of you who volunteered to serve our nation. And we thank you for all that you've done and the sacrifices you've made. And the least we can do as a company and as a community is to make sure that we do everything we can, that you have the services you need. So we thank you on behalf of New Balance for allowing us to participate with you here this morning and to support you in any way that we can. Thank you again for your contributions and great run today. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. And to be running 5.5 miles in jeans and a sport coat like that, I mean, it's really, no, honestly, Matt told me before, his family's up in Maine. He's got to get to an event, so we thank you, Matt, for taking the time to come down. And obviously, we thank New Balance for being such a terrific sponsor of this event each year. We're all here for the same reason, and that is because we want to raise money for this unbelievable program. I've been fortunate enough to go visit the home base program, and I can tell you firsthand, it is one of the most committed groups of people I have ever seen. A lot of us are wearing this bracelet today. Their mission is complete. Ours has just begun, and that's what we're here to do today. We are serving those who have served us so selflessly. And the man in charge of the program will now step up and say a few words. Please welcome my friend, the Executive Director of Home Base, retired Brigadier General Jack Hammond.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Tom for all that you do to support this program and the Red Sox for all that they do to support our veterans here in New England. What an amazing day we have. I just want to get a sense of the representation of our services that are here today. So when I yell it out, if you could just stand up and be recognized. How many active members or former members of the United States Air Force do we have here today? United States Coast Guard. United States Navy. United States Marine Corps. And United States Army. Thank you all for your service, and thank our military families for all that they've done, both their service and their sacrifice. Thank you all. I'd also like to thank all the people that have come here, and as Tom mentioned, 41% of you have run this race before, and we are deeply indebted to you for returning each year and supporting this great initiative. So really, thank you to all of you for coming here today and joining us. We're also honored today to have a number of senior military folks and some civilian leaders to join us. I'd like to just introduce a couple folks and just mention recognize them for attending. Coming from Washington, D.C., we have Joellen Darcy, Undersecretary of the United States Army. Major General Pete Elwood, U.S. Army retired. Rear Admiral Stephen Poulin, Commander, 1st Coast Guard District here in Boston. Colonel Michael Samaroff, Commander, 25th Marine Regiment, 4th Marine Division. And he'll be running. We've also got Secretary Francisco Urena of the Mass Veteran Services and a Purple Heart recipient. And a great friend of this program and a gentleman who'll soon be retiring, Sergeant Major Tracy Lynch, who is a highly decorated Marine, earning 2 Bronze Star medals and 2 Purple Hearts during his many combat operations. I would also like to recognize some very special people who have joined us today. We are honored to have 2 Gold Star families present with us, and for those who don't know, these are families who have lost members in combat. The Arredondo family and the Hines family. Carlos and Melita, Steve and Susan, we are truly honored to have you with us and extremely grateful to you for your ongoing efforts to support our community. We are here today to demonstrate our support for the men and women who have served our country. We want each of you to know that this is a community that values your service. When you come home and your mission is complete, ours will have just begun. One of the most important things we do here at Home Base is provide hope. Thanks to Dr. Slavin and Dr. Rosenbaum, Mass General has provided us with the most talented and caring clinicians in the world, and they are led by Dr. Naomi Simon, Dr. John Rodolico, Dr. Peg Harvey, and Dr. Bonnie Oye. So let's give them a round of applause for the things they do each day. Our wonderful clinicians at Home Base perform miracles each day. They offer hope to those who have lost theirs. They reconnect families that have been torn apart by war. And they assist veterans who feel sometimes that their body may be home, but the rest of them is still overseas. These wonderful people make them whole again. So let's give a round of applause for all the doctors that work at Mass General. At Home Base, we are always striving for innovation and trying to develop a better and more improved model of care for our veterans here in the 21st century. The latest program we designed is a 14-day intensive clinical program where we are now able to bring veterans from all across New England and now all across the world of the country to come to Boston and receive 14 days of intensive care. Through that program and your generous support, we are able to compress a year's worth of clinical therapy into 14 days and add a bunch of wraparound care that will assist these veterans manage their life moving forward. And I can tell you, I attended the graduation ceremony for our 7th cohort yesterday, and this program is saving lives and transforming the future of these people. So I can tell you, the money you raise here is saving lives and transforming lives. So thank you again for that. Tom mentioned the Snow family and the challenges that they overcome. Great on you, Ranger. In a moment, you will hear from Kurt and Jess Power, another family whose invisible wounds of war have been healed by treatment at Home Base. Our veterans don't ask for much, and our family members ask for less. We can never repay that debt to them. We can only aspire to do what we can. And when they do need care, we are committed to provide them the best possible care in the most innovative way, and we really appreciate your support to enable us to do that. Kurt Power and his wife Jessica are an amazing couple who have dealt with both the physical and invisible wounds of war and benefited from the care at Home Base. Kurt was an American soldier and Purple Heart recipient who narrowly survived a sniper's bullet in Iraq. He participated in the run to Home Base long before he realized the program was for him. He continues to serve this great nation and our Commonwealth as a police officer, and he's simply one of the best guys you could ever meet. Ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Power.
Good morning. I'd like to start off today with a brief moment of silence for the brave warriors who never made it home, for our fallen brothers and sisters who cannot be here with us today. They are gone, but not forgotten. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you so much to everyone at Home Base. What you do is nothing short of a miracle, and I mean that. I really appreciate everyone up here today taking the time out of their busy schedules to be here with us, especially Tom Werner and Dr. Peter Slavin, the two men behind the creation of Home Base. Thanks as well to Governor Baker and Mayor Walsh for supporting the veterans here in the Commonwealth. I also just want to take a second before I get started to thank my family for all their support. My father, Marty, my Aunt Elaine, who's been like a mother to me, my brother, Keith, and the love of my life, my amazing wife, Jessica, who's up here with me today. Okay, let's get down to business. My name is Kurt Power. I grew up in the small town of Abington, Massachusetts. I'm a police officer, Iraq War veteran, and proud graduate of the Home Base program. I joined the military after 9/11, and I volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I hunted high-level terrorists on the ground in Ramadi in 2005 and 2006. As many of you know, Ramadi at that time was some of the heaviest combat of the entire war. On October 10, 2005, we'd been in country for about 3 months. It was during Ramadan. We were conducting a reconnaissance mission for a large-scale operation. After coming out of the recon of a factory, we stopped 2 possible suicide bombers. The whole thing was a setup, and I was sniped. I knew it was hit, and I knew it was hit where he wanted to hit me. The bullet blew through the side of my chest. The guys rushed me into the base and onto the operating table. While they were operating on me, my commanding officer was trying to get me to stay with him, trying to keep me out of shock. I told him, I know what you're doing. Today's October 10th, the Patriots won. Adam Vinatieri kicked the game-winning field goal, best kicker in football. Even on my deathbed, I will always be a proud Boston sports fan. I got out of surgery, everyone thanked me for my service, and they got ready to medevac me out of country. My military career was over. I told them, with all due respect, everyone's dying, I'm not going anywhere, and I checked myself out of the hospital. I continued to fight for 8 more months. Everyone in my unit had an M4. My M4 had a special optic on it. This optic saved my life. That's because the bullet blew through the optic on my M4 first, and then into the side of my chest. If that optic wasn't there on my M4, my doctors said it would have killed me instantly. The advice to get that special optic came from one of the most squared-away soldiers I've ever met, Lieutenant Mark Dooley. I couldn't wait to thank Mark for saving my life. The only problem was, Mark was already dead. He had been killed by Al-Qaeda the month before, along with Sergeant Michael Egan and Specialist William Fernandez. All I could ask was, why me? Why did I survive when greater men than me never made it home? Men like Mark. I met Mark's mom after the war. I hugged her and burst into tears for one of the only times in my entire life. I just wanted to tell her sorry. Sorry that I'm here and Mark isn't. Sorry that I'm alive and Mark is gone. God must have made a mistake. Serving our great nation has truly been the greatest honor of my life, but I returned home, pieces of shrapnel still lodged in my chest, my brain rocked and my eardrums blown from the last monster IED I hit in Iraq that broke one of my best friend's backs, and my heart absolutely broken after losing some of the greatest men I've ever met in my entire life. I've been in more firefights than I can remember, RPG'd, shot, and blown up by IEDs. But the scariest moment of my deployment was returning home. I remember when I landed back here in Boston, where I was met by my family after my deployment. On the drive home from Logan, we pulled over on the side of the highway. The IBEW billboard was lit up and it said, "Welcome home from Iraq, Sergeant Kurt Power." In that moment, surrounded by family celebrating my safe return, I encountered an emotion I'd never experienced my entire time in combat: fear. All I was thinking is, what am I doing back here? I don't belong here anymore. I honestly just wanted to run into traffic. I never thought I would make it, therefore I never thought I'd have to readjust to the civilian world, and it scared the hell out of me. It really did. I thought this couldn't get any worse, but unfortunately I was wrong. After returning home from Iraq, my mother called. My parents had divorced years before, and I never told my mother I was deploying to Iraq because of her strong anti-war views. In a time in my life when I really could have just used some emotional support from her, she called me after hearing the news to tell me how disappointed she was in me and how awful of a person I was for fighting in the Iraq War. That was the last time we ever spoke. She took her own life on that 4th of July. Combat came easy to me, but life after the war was truly devastating. I was consumed not only by the guilt of my own mother's suicide, but crippled by survivor guilt from Iraq and haunted by reoccurring dreams. I remember one of the same dreams I would have over and over again for years. It was of my body Sergeant Dwayne Dresky. I served in Cuba and Iraq with Dwayne, who was one of the toughest guys I've ever met. It was always a me and Dwayne, hanging out, laughing, having fun. Then I would always come to the realization in my dream, Dwayne is dead. I would always wake up horrified, heartbroken, and drenched in my own sweat. My wife Jessica would always ask me what's wrong, and all I'd ever say is nothing. I don't want to talk about it. I thought if I didn't acknowledge it, then no one else had to worry. I wasn't a drinker. I didn't use drugs. All I wanted to do was charity work and try and justify being here when so many others were not. My charity work was all-consuming. I even participated in the Run to Home Base a few years back, but I wasn't ready to go into care. Eventually, thanks to the guidance and support of my good friend and mentor, Superintendent Richard Sullivan, I finally decided I didn't want to live life like this anymore, and I made the call to home base. I called and talked to one of home base's veteran outreach coordinators. This wasn't a random person on the other end of the phone. This was a heavy combat vet and fellow Purple Heart recipient, who I felt could actually relate to me in a world full of people who couldn't. That's when I felt like I had finally come to the right place. Before I knew it, I was deep into therapy and couples counseling with my wife, Jessica. My amazing new doctor, Heather Capson, helped me tackle my issues from the war head on. We worked to identify my specific sources of trauma from Iraq, discussed how they were negatively impacting my life on a daily basis, and revisited these events to help me overcome them. We made huge strides in my ability to utilize patients and problem solve in a more efficient manner. Home base also helped me not only overcome the guilt of my own mother's death, but the survivor guilt from Iraq that was destroying my life. They helped me finally realize that my survival didn't mean that someone else didn't make it. My wife will tell you, through the treatment at home base, I learned to communicate more effectively and even more rationally at times. It has helped my relationships. It has helped all of my relationships, but especially the one with Jessica. Jessica, would you stand up, please? Jessica, I have something to say to you. You have been my rock through all of this, and you have supported me every step of the way. Jessica, you are my soulmate, and I love you more than life itself. I am lucky to have Jessica. I'm lucky to have my life back. And home base gave me that gift. I am here today to send out a message. If I can convince just one person who needs help to listen to me and put their trust in the treatment at home base, this will all be worth it. I have been where you are, and I can honestly tell you, thanks to home base, I not only feel the best I've felt since the war, but the best I've felt in my entire life. For all of you still suffering from the invisible wounds of war, I assure you that we will never stop fighting for you, and we will never, ever leave you behind. It's time for you to take your lives back, and the home base program is the way. Thank you, and God bless America.